Hello, everybody. My name is Mason, and today we are talking open spoilers for Thor: Love and Thunder. What? Spoilers? Yes, that's right. So if you have not seen the movie, go away, because I will be talking every detail that I can remember of the movie. So if you haven't seen it, I don't want you to get spoiled. This is a fun experience. You should go in there completely open, right? But if you want to know how good the movie is, go ahead and click right there for my non-spoiler out of theater reaction of Thor: Love and Thunder. But everybody that can stick around, let's talk some spoilers. Alright, so for those of you that have seen my non-spoiler review, I like this movie. In fact, I quite enjoyed it. I didn't think it was as good as Thor Ragnarok, but overall, this is a good time, right? Had a great time with it. Although there are some things that I found to be disappointing of the film, I want to talk about those things first and get those out of the way so we can really focus on the great things about this movie, because there's a lot of great stuff. There's just a few things, some that are like really minor, that kind of bring this movie down a little bit for me. And the first really, really minor thing, but it was pretty adamant for me, is the overuse of the song Sweet Child of Mine. You know, we saw all in the marketing, the big push on it, but it was all over this movie too. I understand the rock and roll aspect that they were trying to go for, but they used that song like 3 or 4 times in the movie, and while it's a wonderful song and all, it just felt really repetitive. And I don't know if that's just because I've seen so many trailers for this movie, so many TV spots, and they all use that song. Maybe I'm just sick of it at this point. Because like if I'm watching a show, it runs that TV spot over and over and over again. So to see it being used over and over again in the movie definitely soured it a little bit for me. But it's a minor thing. It's really not a big deal. It's just something that I noticed and it kind of bugged me. So I wanted to bring that up for you guys. Another really minor thing, real no effect on the movie whatsoever. I did mention this in my non-spoiler out of the theater reaction. The CGI in the beginning, specifically the whole baby Thor with the mother in battle stuff, that looked really bad. Like PS3 level graphic, maybe PS4. We'll give them PS4, okay? That did not look movie standard. And you know, it's not a big deal in the long run, right? But it did take me out, so I got to mention it. And the last real bad things I want to talk about are 2 missed opportunities. The first one, which is a major missed opportunity, is having at least a montage, at least one montage of Gore the God Butcher butchering gods, right? I've seen some people online saying this is Gore the off-screen God Butcher, right? You don't actually see him kill any gods except for that first one, you know, his god. That was a little bit disappointing because, you know, overall this character was awesome. A+ character for me. But we don't get to actually see him do his thing, right? Like, you know, I am Mason, the movie reviewer, right? If I don't review movies, am I really Mason, the movie reviewer, right? If you made a movie about me, but you always just cut from me and then I've done the review, what's the point, right? That it bugged me, I guess. I mean, it wasn't, again, it's not a big deal. Like, I still like what we got. I just think it's a missed opportunity. Now, another missed opportunity, this is very minor, right? But when when Lady Sif was laying there, you know, in the snow, and she lost an arm, and Thor goes, "Oh, well, maybe your arm is in Valhalla," right? It was a total missed opportunity for in that second post-credit scene when Jane is in Valhalla talking to Heimdall to see a floating arm, right? That would have been just. It might have taken away from the scene. That was a good scene. Like, hey, you're in the land of the gods, That would have been cool, without it and all. I mean, it was fine without it. But I just think that was a missed opportunity just for one little callback, right? I don't know. That's pretty much everything that I found to be negative for this film, which, as you can tell, most of that is very, very minor. So that's awesome. If there's not much bad, and the only real bad thing is just missed opportunities, I think you've got yourself a great film. All right, let's talk about some of the cameos and references and stuff in the film, because not the biggest important things to talk about, but they're the things that I enjoy, and that's what they're meant for, is for the fans to, see and be like, oh, wow, yeah, cool. I want to talk about that stuff because it's fun for me. So, the first thing is Daryl. Who's Daryl? Daryl was Thor's roommate in those Marvel one-shots from pre-Ragnarok, and they also did one post-Ragnarok. That guy is hilarious, and seeing him pop up in New Asgard as a tour guide, I just thought that was a funny little inclusion. I haven't watched those one-shots in years, but I watched them a little bit after the film because I was like, hey, there's Daryl. Oh, I forgot about him. It was a nice little inclusion, and it made me smile, and that's really all you can ask for from something like that. In that final battle with Gore the God Butcher, in that, I don't know what, that hallway, that grand hallway, right, where he was going to eternity, there was a big, big statue of Uatu the Watcher, and I think the Living Tribunal as well. Now, you may or may not know who those are. You should know who at least the Watcher is from watching Marvel's What If, the animated thing on Disney+. I hope you've at least seen that if you haven't. It's awesome, but, those were just like barely important to the story. I mean, they weren't important to the story at all, actually, but seeing that was cool. We're going to this very powerful cosmic person, and we see some statues of more very powerful cosmic people. I thought that was cool. It got me excited. One more cameo I want to talk about is not really a cameo, but it's on the lower side of screen time, and that is the Guardians of the Galaxy. I was going to put this with my negatives because it did rub me the wrong way a little bit, but it wasn't that much of a big deal to really add it. Says the person who put little nitpicks like the overuse of Sweet Child of Mine. I promise you that bugged me more. But Guardians of the Galaxy. I was very excited to see Thor with the Guardians of the Galaxy, the Asgardians of the Galaxy. I knew going into it, there's no way they're going to be in this movie very much. That's fine. I'm kind of glad they weren't. And that's just because I don't think the Guardians were handled that well in the movie. They didn't have this bond that they are established of having. I didn't feel the family aspect of the Guardians. They didn't really have very many lines. Obviously Peter Quill had plenty of lines, but like Nebula, the only thing she really did in the movie goes, ah, screaming and shooting. Cool, sure, it's funny, but the Guardians and their interactions with each other, with the addition of Thor, is awesome. And we didn't get that. It's a missed opportunity, right? Just the characterizations of the Guardians in this movie felt off, and it did leave me disappointed. But it was fun to see them again. It's been a while since we got to see them again. We've been waiting for this Volume 3 for forever because of all that drama. So I can't be that disappointed. At least I got to see them, but it did leave me feeling a little unsatisfied. Okay, cameos, all that stuff, done talk about. Let's talk about the story. Let's talk about the characters. First off, we'll talk about some Valkyrie stuff. Valkyrie was a big standout for Thor Ragnarok, and very excited to see her again in this movie. And she wasn't in the movie as much as I thought she would be. I mean, like, she was there, but she just didn't have a lot of presence. She did have some great little moments, and that's really all I can really say about her in this movie. She felt like she was there, but she wasn't like how it was in Thor Ragnarok. Korg, as always, played by Taika Waititi, who is the director of this film, is just so fun. I love Korg. I was so hoping that we would get Korg in the Guardians of the Galaxy at some point, because I think he would mesh really well. And, there's still a chance, right? Korg is no longer a face at the end of this movie. So maybe you should push for that. If people online push for Korg in the Guardians of the Galaxy, Korg is awesome. And again, Korg, just like Valkyrie, wasn't that much of a focus in this movie. He was there, and he had great lines. Great lines. That stuff with his new mate, Dwayne, The Rock. Awesome stuff, Korg is a fan favorite character, especially for me. It was great seeing him, but he just didn't have that much in here to talk about. But what he was in was great, and props to you. So Zeus, played by Russell Crowe, was something that I was very excited going into it, because Russell Crowe is a wonderful actor, and Zeus is like the all-powerful god, like, it's Zeus. How are they going to portray him? Not as I thought. And I guess I probably should have seen that coming, just because it is Taika Waititi. His character was weird, to say the least. But it also kind of makes sense that a guy, or I guess a god like that, being the god of all gods sort of thing, would be kind of a dick, and stuck up. So that worked for me. I thought Russell Crowe as Zeus, he did awesome. His mannerisms, just the way he talked, I thought that was funny, and it worked. It did get a little bit difficult to understand him sometimes. So maybe on the second viewing I'll get it better, or when it eventually comes on Disney Plus, pop it on with some subtitles. I think that'll be awesome, because I want to hear every bit of dialogue. It's just the way he talked was kind of like he was mumbling a little bit, But that might have just been me. I don't know. Maybe I'm going deaf. All right. So Gore the God Butcher, played by the wonderful, powerful, great Christian Bale. Mentioned earlier that I thought it was a missed opportunity to not have a montage or something with him. But what we got was awesome. Christian Bale played the hell out of that character. I could tell he was having so much fun with it. Christian Bale mentioned that he wasn't ever coming back to comic book movies after The Dark Knight Rises. But then somehow he was attached to this new Thor movie, a couple years ago. And I was like, well, how did they get him back? Well, clearly he saw this, just, he was so menacing, yet so I feel like I could just beat you up. Does that make sense? So weak yet powerful. It was really strange. I really liked every single scene he was in. And the whole, with the Necro Sword, all the shadow monsters, all that stuff looked awesome. He looked awesome. Especially in that place where it was all dark, all black and white. Just, he looked like a skeleton with a hood. It was awesome. They did great with the CGI. I mentioned the CGI in the beginning was bad, but everything else was wonderful, especially with Gore. Big standout performance in the movie. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with this character at all for me, except for the fact that we just didn't get enough. Alright, let's talk about the heavy hitters here. We've got Jane, and we've got Thor to talk about. Let's start with Jane. So, going into the movie, I was curious as whether or not they were going to do the whole cancer aspect of the Mighty Thor story. That was a big part of it. And I was kind of, with the way Disney is, I wasn't sure they'd go that route because it's a pretty sad route. But clearly they did. And it was beautiful. I mean, just seeing her, choose to help over her own life. Yeah, the hero does that, right? But this was like actively killing her. And yeah, it was powerful stuff. I'm sure every single one of you has had somebody in your life affected by cancer, myself included. And like, just seeing the fact that she probably could have, gotten a more longevity, it helped. She was in stage 4, sure, but the fact that the hammer was actively working against recovery, and yet she was still choosing to use that, not just for her own self of like, oh, I'm healthy, but to help people, to save children, right? That was powerful stuff. And it's the most heartbreaking part of it is the fact that she, was told, don't do this. And she saved Thor's life. And she died for it. And now she's in Valhalla, which is awesome. I don't know if she's in Valhalla because she died in battle. I don't know what the timeline of that is, like if you get 5 minutes after the battle or whatever, or because she died from her battle with cancer. Either way, it was powerful, and it also just revamped any doubt that I had in this Thor-Jane relationship. I didn't think it was the strongest relationship, but I thought their relationship in this story was awesome. I loved the montage of their relationship between Thor: The Dark World and, I'm assuming, Avengers: Age of Ultron. I thought that stuff was awesome. But she's gone now. And it was a great finale for her character, I think. We haven't seen her in 8 years, right? But it was a good send-off. Okay, now for the moment you've all been waiting for, the most obvious part of this whole video. Chris Hemsworth as Thor was awesome. I talked about this in my non-spoiler video. Chris Hemsworth owns this role. He is awesome. And the Thor character has gone through so much growth to being one of my favorite characters in the MCU. And I'm just so happy that he got a 4th movie. There's a new Captain America movie coming out soon with Sam Wilson as Captain America. But Thor got it first. And you couldn't have told me that I wanted that pre-Ragnarok. Maybe even after Ragnarok, I was like, that was good. But then we got Infinity War. And then we got Endgame. And just Thor's story from the original Thor to where he is now might even have more growth than Tony Stark did. He's had more movies now, but I love Thor's character in this movie. I love Chris Hemsworth's, interpretation of him, how that's grown, how it's more comedic now. Thor, even started comedic, right? Like another from the first one. But this is good. This is good. He's good. Yeah. Thor's story in this He's grown he's able to enchant stuff now, like his father. I'm so excited for what's coming. I don't, there's no real telling of where it's going other than the fact that Hercules is probably going to be hunting him down. But I don't care. I'm just ready for more. Oh, and that ending, right, with Love and Thunder, that was awesome. I'm pretty sure that's his real life daughter playing her. That was so good. I hope that she's a part of the next movie. That was such a good idea. Make Thor a father, right? That's a good idea. I never would have thought of that. And yeah, it was delightful on screen. I'm totally in. All right, lastly, I just want to give some honorable mention stuff about the movie that I quite enjoyed. The running gag with Stormbreaker just being jealous of Mjolnir. I thought that was so dumb, but just so funny. Like, every time, just laughing my ass off. Mjolnir. The fact that, like, Mighty Thor could throw it and it just, like, break into shrapnel, all the shrapnel could go over it, and then just comes back. That was so cool. I was like, what? That was awesome. It's a great idea. The action in this movie is all awesome. It's top notch. I mean, Thor didn't get a moment like Infinity War, I will say. I wish we got more stuff like that, but maybe too much of a good thing is a bad thing. I don't know. But anyway, the action in the movie was great. And yeah, I mean, I think that might be everything I have to say about this movie. There's a lot there, but I'm going to go see this again tomorrow. And there you have it. Those are my thoughts on Thor, Love and Thunder in a very open spoiler way. Go ahead and leave a comment down below what you thought of the movie in a open spoiler way, because we can do that here in this confined box of spoiler talk. Leave a like on this video for more content like this. Don't forget to subscribe for more content too, because I got a lot more videos coming, don't you worry. Anyways, until next time, my name is Mason, and I will catch you in the next video. Take care.